Welcome to 93.3 KFM, the Hot Seat Friday panel. I have a panel of very experienced journalists and pundits. To begin with, I have the acting MD, the Managing Director of the Uganda Media Center, Obed Katurebe. Obed, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Dochi, as though you didn't introduce yourself to the listeners.
Next, we have Frank Mujimba. Frank is a political analyst and also in the corporate world. Frank, you're welcome.
Thank you for hosting me, Jimmy.
Seated next to Obed Katurebe is Isaac Kayonde, Gomba's finest.
Absolutely.
Who contested to become flag bearer but didn't. I guess you're running as independent?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought you better understand the ideology of the party, so you wouldn't go.
It looks like the president gave clearance that those who did not make it can run as independent.
Was he part of those people?
Is that true, Obed?
Not at all. Not at all. I think he made them. Probably, this is what I'm thinking. He didn't want to annoy them by being rude and tell them, please behave, go and do what. Then he tried just to counsel them. Look, in areas where you have strong opponents, if you divide the votes and whatever, then you'll be praying into the enemy territory. To those probably who are quite... But basically he didn't give anybody to stand as a credit.
But sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Jimmy Odoki, sitting in for Andrew Mwenda. I get to step in the big shoes of Andrew Mwenda.
But maybe since we have somebody who went into that team of those who are not satisfied with the outcome, maybe you can tell us what exactly did the president tell you?
Well, the engagements which I participated in were efforts which were done by the vice chairperson of Central Buganda, who was Kasolo, and the Attorney General. They invited us to find a common position around supporting the flag bearers. So all of us were invited to Africana, and we were all asked. Well, it was more of those, like you said, the counseling session. They tell you, oh, this is our party. But what they don't address again are the injustices or the unfairness in the primaries. So basically, we were told, okay, those who are willing, if you're willing, you write here, you write, me, I'm going to support the flag bearer. You go, you read your name in front. They say, hey, Isaac Kayonde has sworn, then. So it was a fuss. Many people.
You didn't sign. You didn't sign for anybody.
Of course not.
So what is going to change in the national elections?
The method and order of how it's done. And I want to give you this. There were 400 petitions in that tribunal. 400.
Yes.
I think they overturned like 4. They asked for re-election for another 4. Total 9, right? Which would mean that they stamped the process that they had had. Now, those are just 9. In the House today, we have over 60 something independents.
Yes.
All those independents, majority are NRM. Right?
Yes.
Which means that the process produced 50 plus independents. Now, by all stretch of imagination, if indeed the tribunal was doing its work with the diligence,
it converts only 9.
It converts only 9. The vindication for us, the independents, will be the number of independents in that house in the next election. So for me, I believe that, look, the threats have come, if you stand as an independent, you'll be fired from the party and all. But we have seen the same party sign a memorandum of understanding with the independents. So that one is an empty threat, and we still reserve the right to our rights to stand for elections.
You really can't ignore the issue of independence. And Saturday Monitor has it covered, how independents will rock the boat.
Yeah, we are, definitely.
Yes.
We are.
And in the Saturday Monitor, you have a story that I think is the biggest news in the week that we are just about to start discussing. That's Raila's last ride. Today there was a state funeral, as you must have all been following. And following the state funeral, he will be buried on Sunday.
Yes.
According to his will, he wanted to be buried within 72 hours. I think that's not possible. Some things will change. It's not even possible now. So Raila died on Wednesday from India. So, and it's I think the biggest news in Kenya, the biggest even in the region.
True.
So we deserve to talk about the statesman, a patriot. President Ruto called him a brother who stood tall, and someone who, for him, the interest of the country was first, not his interest, personal interest. So, what are your? I'll begin with you, Obed. I think you've, been a journalist, so you followed from the time they came to Uganda in '91, running away from Kenya, coming here to seek to stay as an exilee, but because there were bad relations, he had to leave and go to Norway. So he came, even in the Saturday Monitor, Robert Madoi writes how he came dressed as a Reverend Father to escape from Kenya. What are your memories? How would you pay tribute to Raila Amolo Odinga?
I mean,
Jacom means is the chairman. Agwambo means is mysterious. You can't predict. You can't tell.
True.
Tega means the tractor. So he had many nicknames, in which he was Baba. He was father. Baba is father in Swahili. So people loved him that much. Those nicknames are not just they were praising him for all his good attributes. So
true. I think all the commentaries about how massive a man he was, I think they're all right. There's no doubt about it, and people have written and talked. I don't find any lie in what most people have talked. But me personally, there are two things I agree with totally. That this man is the mother of, championed multi-party politics in Kenya. His efforts to end single-party rule in Kenya, he paid a big price. He was arrested. He was unrelenting until Kenya went full multi-party politics. It's sad that he did not get the ultimate prize of being a president, but everybody agrees his effort, maybe he built from his father's effort, but his was big for going into constitutionalism and multi-party politics. Second thing you can't take away from this man, even when he was ambitious, wanted to become president and whatever, and for all the 5 times he did not make it, was subsequent commotion, conflicts that would result almost to sliding Kenya into maybe worst levels. He was among the people who would say, no, let's have Kenya first. And he was always willing to go into negotiations for a peaceful settlement. People are those who chided him for, what was it called, shaking hands and whatever.
Handshake. Yes.
But still, all that was meant for peaceful, for Kenya to remain one and not be torn into pieces. The last one, I mean, from the Kibaki 2007-8 election, that was even the presiding officer, the late Samuel Kivuiti, said when they asked him, the journalist, he said he had no idea who had won. See, but I think quite frankly, it must have been Raila who had won, but politics of incumbency played, and then Mike Kibaki took it. But still, he was decent enough to say, at the end of it all, let's talk. And there was some power sharing, and he didn't want Kenya to go to the dogs. Even the last election, which probably he lost, maybe because of Kayonde is a politician, he can tell us. You might have the people, but how you organize them to secure your victory also matters. So I think the organization didn't favor him, and even when he lost, and these Gen Zs were almost putting Kenya to the He was so decent enough, because quite many, how many had died in those protests?
They had about
1,000. The 2008.
The last one, this one. But still, when Ruto extended his arm to talk to him and resolve this issue, he was kind enough not to tear Kenya into pieces, and he accepted to be to talk to Ruto, and peace prevailed. Those are my two takeaways.
I'll go to the politician Isaac. You know that in the current administration of Ruto, there are people from ODM who are part of that cabinet. Yes. You know that before that, Uhuru Kenyatta, there was the handshake. That some people were really against it. What should politicians or leaders learn? That it isn't not about this winner takes it all is a bad thing, or can people in opposition have principal cooperation, like some minimum agreements where you agree to work together on some issues? What can we learn as a country from?
Thank you, but I think there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn from Raila Odinga's politics. I mean, it didn't start yesterday. He had been imprisoned, I think, 8 years. He comes into the election of 1992. He loses. Yes, fine. But guess what? He still became Secretary General for KANU, you know, in the later days. And for me, it was his willingness to compromise that is key, especially in situations where the country is polarized. What people here downplay is legitimacy, what you would call legitimacy. Legitimacy is so important that even just having a low vote turnout, like what you saw the repeat of the 2017 election, Uhuru knew that he could not govern with a huge population not having come to give him that mandate. And because Raila had decided not to stand, he had that following of people, and he had a disagreement with Ruto over that handshake. Ruto said, look, you have the mandate to be tough, be a man, please.
And then later,
and then you know, Uhuru in his wisdom says, no, you know what, let me go at it alone. He goes, reaches out to Odinga, and yes, the man was given an office, his wife was given an office, and everything. Now, for me, the lessons to learn here are very simple. We are now in a society which is highly polarized, that you're either that side or you're either with us or against us. That leaders like Muntu, who fall in between there, don't have they are unacceptable right now in the election. That you cannot even have good leaders because we are polarized. Now you have people like Besigye. Besigye started this. There were efforts after 2006. There were efforts led by, of course, I think Andrew Mwenda, Conrad Nkutu, and the rest, that brought in Benjamin Mkapa to have President Museveni and Kizza Besigye talk to heal the country from that election. That was the closest election we have ever had in this country, and the Supreme Court was equally divided. Now, what happened there is that, according, of course, to the reports Andrew Mwenda and Conrad had published, Kizza Besigye gave his terms for the talks. President Museveni gave his terms for the talks. One was saying, please recognize that I won this election. That was, I think, Kizza Besigye. The other one was, please recognize that I'm the president of the country.
No, audit the election.
This one, audit the election. This one says, you need to recognize that I'm the president of the country. So there was no middle ground. And in the end, President Museveni sees that it wasn't making any sense. He says, look, I've taken away any condition. Let him just come and talk. And Kizza Besigye refused, right? That was in 2006. So for me, it's a thing of knowing and understanding that, look, politics is not a war per se. You know, we are not enemies per se. We just have divergent views on how to run the country. And you might have things that you're fighting against, and I may have my justifications for those.
We are going for a break. After the break, I'll ask Frank that Raila met Museveni a couple of times, and yet people think they didn't agree on many things. So after that, Frank will explain much more. We'll go for a break. Welcome back from the break. Welcome back, 93.3 KFM. It's the Friday panel of journalists. It's Jim Odoki sitting in for Andrew Mwenda. I have with me Isaac Kayonde, Gomba's Finance. We have the MD of the Uganda Media Center, Obed Katurebe. We have Isaac. We have Frank Mujimba. We are paying tribute to Raila Odinga, one of the most influential political figures in Kenya and also in the region. So we're back to you, Frank.
Yes.
We know that Raila Odinga was last here in Uganda in March, having come. He was the envoy, Ruto's envoy to South Sudan. So it come to brief, to brief President Museveni what he found the situation of Salva Kiir and the mess there. But before that, you know that Raila was always seen, campaigning for President Museveni. I think in 2010, coming to 2011. And in one of those iconic pictures, you saw him with President Ruto, Raila Odinga, and President Museveni at his Kisozi farm.
Yes.
That was last year. But many people think they had differences and they never agreed. But somehow he reached out to President Museveni. And was that out of pragmatism? What do you think? What was the relation? What do you read in his approach to issues? Especially even when Kenya had problems with Uganda on trade issues and all that. What do you think? What are your views on his the approach he took?
First of all, maybe to start with that, as I come to also pay tribute to the late Raila Odinga, let me begin by saying that honestly, President Museveni is a uniter. When you look at the region, especially the East African region, or even including the other countries like including Somalia that has actually joined the East African. But when you look at the Great Lakes region, I don't think there is any leader who has been here before President Museveni. So President Museveni is such a tower that almost all the leaders in the region, they actually look to him. So it is not any different when Raila Odinga managed to come here, first of all, campaign for Museveni. And actually, when you even look at all leaders in Kenya, I think most of them have actually been here, be it Ruto, be it Raila Odinga. But allow me, first of all, say this, as I pay tribute to Raila Odinga. His story into politics, I think, starts way long. I think from the 1960s, when Kenya was getting independence, where his father was actually the person that the colonialists of Kenya had decided to give power. But because his leader, Uhuru Kenyatta, was in prison, Jaramogi Odinga could not take on power. So he waited. But you know what happened when Jomo Kenyatta. When Jomo Kenyatta comes into power, you know how he frustrated this man. So to start with is the participation of Raila Odinga's family in the politics of Kenya. Then I think his active politics actually starts in 1984. But prior to that, you know what had happened in Kenya in 1982, or about the infamous coup of August 1982. After that,
attempted coup,
yes, the attempted coup that actually failed. Raila Odinga is taken into prison. He spends about 6 years in prison. So when he comes back, that is when now he starts active politics. And it is at that time that actually Kenya was, the Kenyans were yearning for democracy and the opening up of political parties. Then, first of all, my first point is his contribution towards democracy. After the colonialists had gone, we had a wave of leaders who had become dictators here in Africa, especially in Kenya. Look at what happened in Tanzania. Chama cha Mapinduzi. Jomo Kenyatta dies in 1978. Moi comes in and also becomes a dictator. Look at J.J. Rawlings in Ghana. So most of the leaders, we were being ruled by our own, but they had actually become dictators. So the people in Kenya, by 1990, I think it was a wave almost around Africa. That is when most of the dictators actually collapsed. So he participated in the fight for democracy. Personally, I'm not a fan of democracy, but I think it is something. It is a type of governance that is really good, that I can actually be comfortable to. But especially for developing countries, I don't think that democracy is one of those types of governance that would actually be good in terms of development. And so
is that why the administration?
No. Before you go there, so he participates in the building of democracy. He participates in the fight to bring back political parties, and he actually becomes successful together with the team. Then also, his strength was his kind of politics, the politics that he did as a leader. He managed to, yes, first of all, fight with the different leaders. He fought, he ruled, but he was under governments, but also had to fight with the leaders. He fought with Mwai Kibaki, but also he was under the government of Kibaki as a prime minister later on. He fights with Uhuru Kenyatta, but then he again comes back and works with Uhuru Kenyatta. Even Ruto, there was a fight between Ruto, but then he comes back. Even at the time when he dies, I think he was comfortable with Ruto. So his politics was really good, but
was unique.
Yes. But I would like to discredit the nature of politics, not him as an individual, because now he is gone, and I really can't do that. But the nature of his politics, seeming to lack, should I call it a strategy? These people are better politicians. They'll explain to us that you come in 2007. You remember?
You think Raila didn't have a strategy in all that was doing? Wasn't he a very strategic person?
And that is what I'm. Yes. And that is what I'm.
Yes. And I want him to repeat it.
Yes, and that is what I'm coming to. That a strategy could have been what you would call, should I call it inward-looking or individualistic to him as an individual. That in 2008, you come and in 2007, December 2007, and then January 2008, about 1,000 people died out of what had happened in the politics of Kenya. But then you come back and participate in this government. So many people died. How do you explain that? Even in the leadership that followed, so many people died out of his controversies. These riots that were happening in Kenya, so many people died. But then you come back, do a handshake, and also participate in government. So such kind of politics, I think it is more individual than looking at a bigger picture of the country.
I think if it was more individual,
I don't know. No. I was trying to. You see, he said something about people dying and compromise and everything.
Yes,
I mean, President Museveni has done this after the war.
Yes.
He created the broad-based government and had the DP, the Sevanas, the Semogereres, a broad-based government for everybody, and it's not unique. Right? The only issue here is that the individuals who play the politics of opposition, whether they are able to compromise their desires to put country first, and say, okay, we will work generally along these things. But going back to what Obed was saying,
I think Raila put country first, not his personal interest. And he really
no. I had said
he really redefined,
like Jimmy said, like, look, Raila Odinga he achieved everything. He achieved power, but just didn't get the position of president.
Yes.
Because he influenced every election that went in. Now he would lose, but ultimately, for a person to govern, had to reach out to him to kind of bring the country together. So for me, he achieved everything that politicians. So it was above him.
Jimmy, I want to come in and disagree with my brother here, Frank. It would be unfair to attribute whatever mess that happened in 2007-8 election that picked Raila against Mwai Kibaki. I mean, whatever happened, Raila did not command his supporters to do whatever they did.
Yeah.
Quite, that's not true. But the mess it goes back what Isaac usually says. If you create a mess in the organization of an election and subsequent action that may happen cannot be attributed to you, the contestants. The mess was created by weak electoral commission, where the chairperson had said it before, the late Samuel Kivueti said, I have no idea who won. You are saying you have an idea of who won, but you went on to declare the incumbent that he had won after all. So what do you expect? Supporters who are not that rational will go against each other. So it would be, in fact, it would create to Raila much better that in such circumstances where he was clearly robbed, that's what, but he had the decency to say no. Let's stop peace. Told his fans to calm down, and peace prevailed. To me, I give it to Raila than Mike back at that time.
We can say that Raila Amolo Odinga was pragmatic. He found
peace-loving. There's no doubt.
He was also resilient. You know, that kind of thing many people give up along the way. But
the king, like you said, the king without a crown.
The king without a crown. He really fought for democracy, and some people ask that, but we know ODM leadership, how all those, they will sort themselves out, but he played his part, and for that we say may his soul rest in eternal peace. He will be buried in Bondo on Sunday. His soul rest in eternal peace.
Soul rest in peace.
We go to the break, and after the break we'll pick on the issues of Welcome back from the break. It's the 93.3 KFM Hot Seat, the Friday panel. Isaac, we have Obed, and we have Frank. We are moving on to iPod. In 2021, NUP was invited to join the iPod. iPod is the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue. All parties that are in Parliament belong to iPod, to the Inter-Party, but NUP said they were not going to join. But lately, the Secretary General of NUP, Rubongoya, wrote a letter that they would like to join iPod. What explains the reversal? Have they been forced to join iPod, or what is it? Is it about the money? Have they realized that it's very important for the National Unity Platform to be part of iPod? Isaac, you're the politician. Please.
There's no doubt about it, that it is about money, you know? And, the monkey, the higher it goes, the clearer its buttocks, you know? The more this goes up with the tightening of the noose around money, clearly we see the intention of a group to say that, look, this thing has money, we need to reach out for it. So, as we have always said, that, look, iPod has intentions. The intentions are what we have been discussing. Bring all the players in the politics on a table. Let's find the places where we disagree.
The listeners, we need to explain what is iPod anyway.
iPod, the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue. The history of it is that the Inter-Party Organization was formed, and I think it was being funded by the Netherlands Institute of something to further entrench democracy in our country.
On dialogue.
On dialogue, around dialogue, and not the violence. And when they withdrew, or when government had forced them to withdraw, but it wasn't something that government just didn't want. It was the influence of these organizations that were getting into the 2021 elections.
Government always being suspicious.
No, not just being suspicious. I mean,
opposition.
Okay, government has the privilege of information that the masses don't have, and we could see that 2021 NUP was well financed, suspiciously. But I won't go there. But that withdrawal of those finances, government thought it wise, I believe. I don't know, maybe the government spokesperson will chip in, that, this was a good idea and it should continue. And then they took it to the Constitution, they put it in the laws, and it became whatever it became. Now, the issue around radicalism is that they don't even see voice of reason when it comes to things like dialogue. Now, NUP said we won't sit around the same table with President Museveni, unless he leaves power. But millions of Ugandans vote him every other cycle of the election, and he has the legitimacy in that regard. So
have those issues been addressed?
Now the issue here is where if you want to address them on the street, please go ahead. The government will also find you there, right? You can choose that side of things. But their insistence, they went out of it. They said they would not. But they have also seen now, because they have pegged money around the dialogue, now all of a sudden, yes, okay, let's go. We must recognize that this is not private money. This is taxpayers' money. The idea around iPod is dialogue. The taxpayer wants dialogue. Why should you benefit or get money from, yet you're saying you don't want to talk peace?
So we'll go to Obed. What do you think about iPod? Is it justified for what is your view about NUP coming back? Have they been forced to come back? Is it about the money, or have they realized that dialogue
before commenting about NUP and their recent enthusiasm to join, I was speaking of the benefit of our listeners. iPod was more or less of an NGO. Funded by the Netherlands Institute of whatever, and it was neutral. The funding then was, like you're saying, the Netherlands government, with the view of bringing political parties into candid dialogue and discussion on the way forward and the issues to deal with governance. The funding is not because the government stopped the Netherlands from funding iPod. Is for some reasons they slowed down on funding, but maybe, like as I said, the government felt this was a good initiative. Probably they can take it up and then have all the political parties talking to each other.
I think
now, for the benefit of listeners, by the time NUP refused to join iPod was still a private, a neutral NGO. So just because they did that, I don't know, for lack of a better word, pride that is misguided, and also pandering on the whims of their so-called radical supporters, because they didn't want a photo op with President Museveni.
Because when President Museveni comes to iPod, he's not equal to them. He treats himself.
Certainly, when he's a president, he
they feel they should be equals when they come for meetings.
As a president.
But how do you measure equality? By you going?
You cannot be directing. So NUP, I think, feels that you cannot have the one you're contesting against then directing you, and when
so what has his president directed that?
No, because chair is DP Mao. Anyway, let's not go into the Mao and what he is today, because he's cooperating with the sitting government. But I'm saying at that time, what made NUP not want to come? They were still doing basic politics. He knew his radical fans. His radical fans would hate a photo moment with Museveni probably shaking hands. So he'd lose out on his radical. So they felt now we can Kyagulanyi and his radical team, they misled him that any picture of him and Museveni would make him lose popularity.
No,
but now
he will milk it. He'll say, "You look." The person has a way of embarrassing people.
His radical fans now mislead him. Now finally, when the government played this
match, have they addressed the issues? Will they come as equals? Now will they, when the president will not come?
No, they really need probably, because now the issue, there is no Dutch money into iPod. It is government of Uganda money and small money. And like Isaac said, they need part of it.
Yes.
By the way, if they were part of iPod, they would be taking the biggest chunk because they have the biggest number of MPs. But now probably going by what they were saying, they are running sort of money and whatever. So they've come for money. I would want to see that moment, because how will they?
I hope they are welcome and the money is given to them. So Frank, what do you say about iPod and NUP coming now to making reversing their other? They want to join and become member of iPod.
Okay, first of all, my elders have given you a background about iPod, so I won't take that direction. I won't go there. But let me just give you a quick answer. If I was a supporter of Kyagulanyi, a radical supporter of National Unity
Platform,
radical,
just a supporter, yes,
whatever
radical.
it is. But if I was a radical supporter of National Unity Platform or a supporter of Kyagulanyi, and I saw him sitting with Museveni, I would first of all calm down and get to treat, let's say, the supporters of other parties. You understand? Of, let's say, all other parties that are actually in iPod or even in NCC, National Consultative NCF. National Consultative Forum. So I would come down as a radical supporter. I wouldn't get onto the roads to burn tires or to cause chaos like what has been happening in this country. So I think it is really good if we see our leaders talk and dialogue, then we as their supporters, we also come down and we tend to also take the direction they are taking. But also let me say this, like I said, I'm not a fan of democracy for starters, but I think we need democracy. This is something that we shall need so much in future. You understand?
Not now, in future.
Yes, we shall need it so much in future, but not today.
Why not today? Why not today?
No. Okay. I'll explain that if I'm given time. But so let's nurture democracy. Actually, for me, I think that instead of only funding the political parties that have representatives in parliament, it should be widened, and all other political parties should also be funded. They should be given some sort of, if it needs amending. Yes.
How many political parties? These common people, ecological, like all these.
You can find a way of actually also accommodating them. So
it's the way we started with over 200 contestants, people intending, then they are narrowed down because of you have to meet some.
No, there must be standards in whatever we do.
So
if you form the political party, but you can't even mobilize to have a single member of parliament, then you are just a comedian. You are empirically. Look at it. I'm sorry to say this.
You are so anti-empirically.
No, I'm saying.
They are comedians.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at candidates, presidential candidates. Among the 8 that's so far in the field, there are people who are invading people in their deep markets, and then they begin making noise to them. Well, some people deep in their gardens, you raise them to say you want to be president.
You go where
they have no time for you to even pause a little bit to come and gather where you are speaking.
Breaking my heart.
Really?
Supporters.
That's comical. That is
so as I conclude on this, about NUP, I think somehow they were short-sighted with what was happening before. Even other political parties, you had is it called DGF, which was later on closed. You have the Conservative.
No.
I'm not saying it was a political party, but it was actually funding political parties.
Civic awareness.
You also have the Conservatives coming, because during Biden's administration, there's a lot of money that was coming from the USA and funding some of these political parties here. Now that goes out, you have Conservatives, and this money is actually, they are no longer providing these funds. So I think it is important for us as Ugandans, as the Ugandan government. Yes, they were short-sighted then, but now, if they have decided to come back, they should be allowed in. Let them start
and get all the benefits.
Yes. Let them get all the benefits, sit on table dialogue, and then.
All right, Frank, with that, we go to a break, and then we come to the last part of the show. Welcome back to the last part of the show. We discuss national exams. On Monday, students began doing the Uganda national examinations administered by UNEP. Sadly, some students have not been able to do their exams. As they reported, their names were not, they said they were not registered. There's a case in Mukono where 15 students couldn't do because the school says they were not registered to do the exams.
The school didn't say they didn't register. The administration, the head teachers and what disappeared. So kids were just there.
In Western Uganda, I read that those issues, it's imagine missing, preparing to do the exams, the national exams, and then you are not able to do it because of some maladministration, and you have an extra year. It's what it does to the parents and what it does to the students. Obed, can you please let us know what's really going on? Why are some students missing exams when they've cleared, they've paid for everything, and then they report, but they can't sit for exams?
Maybe for me, the parting shot on the show, especially around the exams, I feel like there's an abundance of technology that is out there that really, honestly, there is no use for any one individual headmaster to be collecting examination fees. Students should have direct access to UNEB, which receives these the fees. I feel like there's always a learning curve in every bad situation. And I think this is the first exam where they are doing the competence-based curriculum. So I'm asking myself, okay, yes, you may not have
the second, I think.
The second.
The second, but the one which is compulsory, everybody is. The other time, it was the old and the new. But anyway, whatever the case may be, I think it's time to revise that some of those processes to ensure that students pay directly to UNEP.
That Obed, wouldn't that be too much work for you?
No. There's nothing. I completely agree with Isaac. I think we're not doing well on enforcement. We have so many private schools, some formed by very scrupulous people, and then we give them the luxury of superintending over that critical phase of someone's education. You know, there's someone who's looking to finish senior 4, probably join a technical college and wind up because probably the parents are unable to push him or her to some other levels. We need to change the way we're doing things. Most institutions, you no longer pay to the agencies that man certain exercises. For example, we don't pay immigration when we are going to.
You do everything like online.
Do it online. You just go with the receipt to do the other oral interviews when they are taking your pictures and whatever.
Is the country ready for a digital shift?
Yes.
Like everything
already, I'm saying some departments or agencies are already implementing that one. So I don't know why we're not quick to look into, like most things when you're paying now taxes. You don't need to go
some parts of the country. There's no access to the internet. You know, it's not everywhere.
It doesn't.
If it works well,
there's no way. Uganda is connected. By the way, Uganda is connected.
In my village, there's no.
If you'd rather give your son or daughter some transport of say 10,000. If say there is no internet deep in Palabek, rather have that 10,000. He or she travels to Gulu and does registration, and probably there's that mechanism where you pay in the bank and the neighbor receives, and probably TV gives you a number.
I think
meaning once I've paid and I'm a candidate and I have my number, the government should now make it completely flat. That even if everyone who has registered, even if you, the owner of a school, probably you lie to your students that you have a registration number. These case people should be allowed in any government school that has a center to sit the exams. For as long as they'll be showing they registered with UNEP. We should really move away from paying just specific offices, so-called.
If the teachers have integrity, they cannot.
You have no way to measure that someone has integrity. For as long as you not measure that someone has integrity just because he has a school and he's dressed in some Kamoda suits or some suits anyway. So that should be that you should payment for a critical stage of our education, like when one is finishing senior 4, even primary 7 or senior 6 and whatever. You should be paying directly to UNEP, and in the event you should
the system should be reformed. Like UNEP should have some.
Absolutely, Minister of Education, even if it means a policy change, it should be done, and because it is persistent. Every other day we receive reports of learners missing out because some crooked head teacher ran away with their money. It's sad.
So Frank, what do you think the situation of education, doing the national exams, and then you are frustrated because you've paid the money, you are told you're registered, but when you go to sit exams, you cannot.
It is really unfortunate that a student goes to school for 4 years, you study, and then at the end of it all you are denied sitting exams. It actually took place here in Nachifuma in Mukono district, which is so I think close to Kampala.
Mukono,
yes, Mukono. So it's not far away from Kampala. So I think the challenge is with first of all Ministry of Education and Sports, then also UNEP, because I think these are things that you should be expecting as a ministry in charge of that docket, but also as UNEB as a body. You will always expect such things. So like the previous speakers have said, I think some of the systems in which how this money is being paid should actually be changed, should be digitalized. But also there should be systems in place. I think the process, once this student is actually in senior 4, this student should be a responsibility of actually UNEB. It should be in charge of this student. It is not that these students did not pay school fees. It is registration fees, about 250,000 that was paid to teachers, and teachers ran away. You understand? So these are things that UNEB can set a timeline. Let's say exams were started on Monday, but this the confirmation of registration or registration of these students should have been like a month maybe before, so that if there is any challenge, this is communicated earlier.
Assured that you registered, everything is okay.
Registration number, that is challenging.
It's true, but again, that one requires a policy shift.
But
probably that may not be a responsibility of UNEB alone. There must be a policy shift of saying, look, the registration will be like this, and we have all agreed that should be digitalized, and payment should be probably in a bank, paying to a certain account, the account that would give the learner maybe a code. This is your code as a senior 4 student, stuff like that. It requires a complete policy shift, because UNEB really can't monitor the thousands of schools and the candidates they have across this other country. But once they have shifted, there's a policy shift, and it requires everybody to do it online. Then maybe there can be that week or 2 to the exams, where maybe announcements would be run by UNEB, like you're saying, for every person who intends to sit for these exams. Go check, either go online, check, If you don't find it, then now you can raise the complaint.
But also, Jimmy, just a second. Also, you can also speak to this. Why deny, because UNEB is in charge of these exams, why deny these students sit exams? Let them sit, then you can hold the results until these people pay this money.
In fact, the government has done that before. What they've been doing, they say sit exams, then probably you hold the exams until maybe if there are issues. But largely that was to people who have failed to pay maybe to complete school fees, or they were unable to pay even that registration. But in situations where someone lied to the students that they have the center number, when they don't have it, even get their money and they run away with it. Wow, it's quite challenging.
Thank you very much. This is the plight of teachers is also closely related to this, that we'll have another opportunity to discuss. Thank you for being a good panel. Up next is the news with Catherine Ageno. Thank you.